So yeah, that fire pit that I have at the gym, it's from a company called My Fireside.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy sent it out as he's a fan of the podcast. So he's like, hey,
Nice.
check this out. And anytime someone does something like that and they send something out that's cool, like if they send me some bullshit, hey,
No one's going to hear about it.
like, like, dude, I've got some clothes that are like these colors don't run, or like
Sure.
unexpected company, and it's like a team of people stacked on the door, like a shirt I would never fucking wear, but I also don't want to be a dick, right?
Yeah.
But this thing, man, so it's a fire pit that's made in America, and he says it's very similar to a Solo stove, except it's way higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
And Solo stove is made in China, so he's like, this is American made stuff. But check that out, dude. It has the
Fuck yeah.
Endless Endeavor logo on it, and then you can customize the panels. So he sent me a gym logo. Here, I'll show you the other ones. A gym logo, Endless Endeavor, and a No One's Coming to Save You. And
so awesome.
bro, it's fucking rad. It's a really cool fire pit. And he sent it to me like the beginning of summer, and I never lit it. So it's kind of like,
Nice.
I felt kind of bad because the dude's like, hey, have you used it yet? I'm like, well, no, but
it looks so good.
But it's also fucking August. So it's just like, I don't typically have fires.
Yeah.
And so I lit it last week during Friday night rolls. And bro, there was like kids huddled up around it and shit. So I think that's just going to be a winter standard at the gym is on Friday nights, crank that fire pit and just give the kids something to do.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. It looks awesome. Look at that, man.
Yeah, it's cool, huh? But I'm sure some kid will fucking burn his hand on it and it'll be an issue. But until then, come to Friday Night Rolls, bring your fucking s'mores and your marshmallows and all your bullshit and enjoy yourself.
Roast marshmallows on an arrow.
Yeah, I just shouldn't put that on our insurance.
No,
Dude,
probably not.
Dude, I didn't realize this. It's probably not something you talk about publicly, but whatever. Insurance, like they want to know like all the details of your gym. I found out, like what temperature is your cold plunge at, shit like that. And it's like, you know what, dude, fuck you.
The right temperature.
Yeah, like don't.
Just cold enough. Sauna gets just hot enough.
Yeah, dude. And so it's
there are just the right amount of stairs going upstairs.
And the world of insurance is weird as a martial arts academy because like you'd think like, oh, okay, I got insurance in case someone fucking breaks a fucking whatever while we're grappling. And they want to know everything, dude. Mm-hmm. But insurance is a fucking like, as everybody knows, it's a fucking like cutthroat industry where they try and get as much as they can from you and then pay out as little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all of these like little stipulations. I remember when I was a kid, did you ever go up to my parents' house in Machias?
Yeah, one time.
Okay. Yeah. You know, they live literally
right on that hill, right on the cliff.
Right? Yeah. And my dad was dumping, he had a Craftsman lawnmower with a dump trailer attached to it. He backed up to the edge of the cliff and the edge of the cliff gave away and it pulled the trailer and the lawnmower over the cliff. And he jumped off or would have fucking killed him, right? And so he reaches out. I guess riding lawnmowers are on your homeowner's insurance policy. They fall under that. Mm-hmm. So my parents reached out and they said, yes, but unless it falls. If you like the fine print, we don't cover lawnmowers that fall. So falling objects actually aren't under your homeowner's policy. So yeah,
like you're covered when you hit the fucking ground at the bottom of the cliff, but nothing up until that point.
Yeah. So, well, cool, man. Thanks for doing this on short notice. I actually, the reason that I had the idea is because I saw Toby's podcast come out.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, oh fuck, I haven't had Scott on in a while. He's
always been a minute.
He's always a fun person to just sit down with and talk life with. And I was like, all right, that's my sign. Get back on the show.
Good deal. Thanks, man.
You did I think it was the second episode. We talked about new gun ownership. Remember that one?
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because I think I was the first official guest because you did one with Folk and you couldn't release it because you went off the rails. Something about, I don't know the full story, but
no. It wasn't that we,
I don't want to make that claim, but it was, early on anyway.
Yeah. Right when I got all my podcast equipment, everybody's like, yeah, let's sit down and do a podcast. Right. And it's like, okay, well, I'll bring all the stuff just so I can kind of figure out how it all works and whatnot. And we went to Stefan's Rock Yard up in Clearview. You ever been there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And he has that little clubhouse that everybody hangs out in. So we set it all up and pushed record, and then everybody got fucking drunk and stoned. And there was like 6 dudes in there, and it was just, trust me.
Oh yeah.
Maybe if I release that now.
That's Patreon content.
Yeah.
Like premium membership, subscribers only.
But as my first episode, I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me.
It's going to set you back.
Yeah. But bro, like I actually wanted to start today's podcast with something awesome, is that the concert we went to last week.
Holy fuck.
Has it been 2 weeks ago now? Whatever.
Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah, it was rad.
A
It was rad as
month.
fuck. It lives rent free in my head, to the point that I bought a fucking guitar that I never typically kind of play, just to play like that. We saw the Aristocrats, and 3-piece instrumental, whatever they want to be, jazz, metal, heavy shit, just top notch musicians, and yeah, holy smokes,
I've never seen
anything like it.
And when you say that, that means something.
Yeah.
Because you're a very, very like high level musician yourself. So to be able to like, because anyone can go to a concert and just watch it and have fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the musicianship that we were witnessing, even Jenny, who doesn't have a background in music, was like, how are they?
This is insane.
How are they doing this?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I played a lot of guitar. Scott's one of the best guitar players I know, and we're asking that same question. And for anyone interested, the Aristocrats, it's Guthrie Govan on guitar, who is like, he doesn't get the like the accolades or
he's one of those
notoriety that he deserves.
Yeah, if you know, one of those kinds of things. It's like getting to know a well-known, well-established shooter, grappler, like somebody that's in the circle. Someone like us would be like, that guy's fucking amazing. Like, really high-level guitar players know that he's probably the best living guitar player.
And bro, that's and that's not something that's like, oh, I like his music and I think what he makes is cool, so he's the best in the world.
Yeah. He's so much better than all the other really good guys.
And bro, you listen to him talk about music, it's all his brain knows.
Mm-hmm.
And he can literally like talk you through like note by note and the pitch, and oh, this was a little flat, and a bunch of different timing. And literally when he's talking about, you can go watch Guthrie Govan YouTube guitar lesson, bro, it's like someone speaking Chinese to me. My brain doesn't even comprehend it.
It's just too much. And
then Marco Miniman on the drums, I think he's the same thing. He might be the best drummer out there.
And he's a phenomenal all-around musician. He does full compositions for their songs and for his solo stuff. He's played in death metal bands. He's been a session musician for a bunch of different bands. And I've seen him live a couple times.
What other groups did you see him with? Necrophagus?
I saw him with Necrophagus. I feel like I saw him with somebody else. That was just fucking chaos.
Well, bro, Necrophagus, and this is what's interesting, because it's Aristocrats is like you said, they play it all. Mm-hmm. They play Spanish guitar. They play some metal. They play some jazz. It's like, you can't really put it in a genre. Man, remember they even said during the concert, they said, hey, this song has a violin solo from our violinist that recorded with us. She lives in Moldova and was unable to attend the tour. So during her violin solo, Guthrie channels her energy and plays the violin through his guitar. And he started playing, and Jenny's like, how the fuck is he doing that with a guitar? I said, no, I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, and I'm getting into violin right now. I'm teaching my wife and my daughter. Right?
Okay.
So we're kind of getting into it all on the same page. It's so hard to drag the bow and get a good sounding note. You got to get just the right touch with nylon strings on a well-rosined bow. Everything's balanced and tension just right. And you play it upside down on a steel stringed instrument with all the magnetics and the pickups and everything else, trying to get it to sound just right. That's so hard, dude.
And that's coming from someone that can rip like Pantera solos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it was so
you're
much
a talented player.
It was so much fun watching. And next, I want to go wherever they play next and go see them.
I will never, ever miss.
No, fuck no.
And the tickets are $200 a piece.
Bring it.
And people are like, I follow him on Instagram, so I see people are like, dude, you guys overcharge. Like some people are butthurt about it. And it's like $200 to witness the best musicians that you've ever seen. And they're also kind of, I don't know if you would say unknown, but they're not like a mainstream band.
It's funny. I think they've gotten exactly to the right ceiling. Like they sold out a club. You know, it wouldn't be the same thing. It'd be fun to see them in an arena or a theater or something like that. But they filled out exactly the right size room.
So their Instagram has 60,000 followers, which is like, hey, you're making some noise.
It's a pretty good band,
but nothing crazy, you know? Yeah, dude. And like when Marco Miniman said 20 years ago, I met Guthrie Govan and he put his guitar on and we just said, let's just jam. And he said 20 seconds later, we looked at each other and knew we were like musician soulmates for life. Bro,
pretty incredible.
It is incredible because both those guys have played with a lot of different projects and they still do, but they always go back to each other. And bro, that is something that is like, it's universal.
Yeah. And you get that kind of recognition with other people when you not just get to that level of proficiency as a musician, but when you've cut out all the other bullshit. Like you don't have any of these other hangups or things to think about or worry about. They just get up there and let's just play. Let's just have fun.
Yeah.
They might have improvised that entire thing. If I didn't know their songs, I wouldn't have known any better.
Well, this is what's interesting because another thing that I've read, we'll just talk about the Aristocrats for 2 hours. We'll get into some jiu-jitsu too, because Scott is also a fellow black belt. The interesting thing that I've read is like, hey, sometimes the Aristocrats are hard to watch live because they improvise so much that you don't really get to hear their songs. You just get to hear them jam. So I was like, oh, interesting. Well, let's see what it is. Bro, it felt like I put their album in and push play.
Mm-hmm.
Like note for note for note. And I don't remember one bad bend or pull off or hammer. It sounded almost flawless. And bro, I grew up watching Pantera. I saw Pantera like 5 or 6 times as a kid. Those dudes get drunk and wild, and sometimes it barely sounds like the album, but we're just getting rowdy and drunk and having fun. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But the level of musicianship to like literally have a studio recording quality every single night. And remember, he even said that. They're like, this song doesn't sound very good, but it's one of our hardest songs to play, so we play it. So enjoy or whatever. And then remember, as soon as it was done, everyone started clapping, and Brian Beller goes, Did you really like that?
And it's so cool to see a whole room full of people have just rapt attention. They're so totally captured by the people on stage without any, a display or movie playing behind them or flashing lights or colors or anything crazy. It's just the quality of the musicianship and just the enthusiasm for doing it.
Yeah.
That goes a long way, especially these days. Cause I wanted to buy tickets for some, like Deftones is coming to town in, I think, February with the Mars Volta. And it's like, I really want to go to that show. I can't afford to go to that show. I'm sure it'd be fucking amazing, but I'm not doing it. But this one, I'm fucking absolutely going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just different.
And yeah, it was interesting too when we showed up because we're like, all right, $200 tickets in Capitol Hill, Seattle. It's going to eliminate a lot of typical concert goers just because it's like you have to be pretty invested in a band to spend $200 to see them. What kind of crowd is going to show up? And I remember we were talking about that on the drive down, and then sure as shit, it was like,
it was so funny, dude.
It didn't make, I've been to 1,000 shows and it's usually metal and you get the metalhead crew. I don't even know how to describe this crew. Some people were in suits. Some people looked like Led Zeppelin. Like some people looked like us.
Just across the board, just think anybody listening to this, just imagine misfits from every genre of music all in the same line outside the same venue. And dude, we went up and we got our table, and before the show I walked downstairs and grabbed a beer, and I heard like 3 or 4 different people walking crossways or whatever, just going, look at all these people. Isn't this crazy?
Yeah, they're like,
none of these people belong here.
Yeah. Who are these people here for? What's going on?
Yeah.
It was constant, dude.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, man.
We'll do that again.
Yeah, and fuck, man, those guys tour constantly.
Yeah, they're in Europe right now.
And then they're going to Japan, then they're going to Australia. And it's like, dude, can you imagine living that life? Because they're in their 50s now.
Yeah. Yeah. Guthrie looks like he's 90.
Dude,
52?
Yeah, he's 52 and he looks like Gandalf, like fucking wizard motherfucker.
I couldn't imagine driving from venue to venue, sleeping in a van, getting a shower every couple nights or whatever, living on tortillas and peanut butter.
Bro, when I was 25, I was like, man, that would be so cool. And now even in my mid 40s, the thought of touring the country is just ugh.
Yeah. Well, it tells you how dedicated you have to be to do it. Because I've had, buddy, I've never, toured or done anything like that, but I have friends who have, and they did like a 10-day thing from Washington to California and back. Like, that fucking sucked. I don't ever want to do that again. It sucked.
Yeah.
You think about how many people do that all the time. It's another commitment, man.
Do you listen to Sturgill Simpson at all?
Oh yeah.
So have you heard his story of how he worked?
Not really.
He worked for the railroad company and had like good paying job, good benefits, but he was also like an outstanding musician that whole time on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife told him, he's like, and I forget, he was like already 35 or pushing 40 or something. He was a little older before he pursued music. And his wife is like, your band is too good for you to just work for the railroad. Let's go.
Awesome. That's a good woman.
Yeah, let's go for this, And so he scheduled a year-long tour around the entire United States and played as many venues as they could everywhere just to get the name out there. And you know where I heard that story being told? On Joe Rogan.
Nice.
So it fucking worked.
Yep.
It's fucking cool, man.
That's a similar story with Chris Stapleton. He started as a session musician, and then he got to the point where he was writing like Grammy-winning songs for, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, kind of that level of musician. Won like 11 Grammys, and then after years, decades of doing that, had a bluegrass band that's phenomenal, the Steel Drivers, and then he just decided, do my own thing right now.
Yeah.
And he's the #1 country album in the world.
It's
Fucking
weird.
amazing.
It's weird that some very, very like household names when it comes to musicians and singers don't create their own content.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
It is, because it's like you would think to be able to project that in a true, authentic manner that captivates people, that it would have to have some type of authenticity to it. But bro, a lot of bands, like the mainstream ones, like all the teeny bop bands and all that shit, they're almost like a production. Like, hey, we're gonna get this many people together. This guy's gonna be this. These are what the songs are gonna sound like.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to project or produce one Taylor Swift, right? A lot of people are writing songs for her, which is, at that level of it's not really a bad thing. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But
I remember watching all those like pop bands and shit coming up when we were kids, because we were death metal to the core from the time I was 10 years old when I got into metal. Yeah. Cowboys from Hell came out in 1990, and that changed my life, dude. And I remember always saying, like, that's one thing that's like really true and authentic to metal. Most metal bands are 4 dudes that crack some bottles of whiskey in a garage and make shit. And it's fucking radical.
And the good ones, they stick with it. They stick around. It's a funny thing because you can't really predict who's going to get super huge, especially in death metal. I'm a snob with all that shit. I can geek out about that stuff all day long, but some bands, I'm like, these bands are amazing. How come they didn't get it? And just no rhyme or reason to it sometimes.
It's me and...
Same thing with athletes, though.
Yeah. I went to Toby's house on Saturday night or Sunday night or whatever, and we were just talking about this stuff. And it's like, dude, what has to happen for a Led Zeppelin to come together?
All the right things, And
it's like, hey, there's some classified ad in a newspaper like, hey, rock band looking for a lead singer, and then Robert Plant happens to read that ad, or I'm just making that story up, But I'm saying, like, for Steven Tyler to mesh with Aerosmith, or these iconic figures that if it wasn't perfect, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I mean, going back to the Aristocrats, just you have to put proficiency, dedication to your craft, and just eliminate all the bullshit. You can't think about like, you can't, no, those guys never had the thought of like, I'm going to make it. They just did it.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, Guthrie, when he was really young, worked at McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then
probably had a beard and a full head of hair when he was 15.
And then realizes like, nah, I'm just going all in with music. And did you hear the story of how he got like his first professional job in the music industry?
No.
It was either Guitar World or Guitar Player, one of those like big time magazines. You know how those magazines will have songs that are tabbed
Mm-hmm.
in the like this month we have 5 songs and it's this song and this song. Guthrie tabbed Yngwie Malmsteen. Is that how you say that?
Yngwie, yeah.
Yngwie Malmsteen solo. He tabbed it and sent it into Guitar World and said, "Hey, I'd be happy to transcribe things into tab for you. This is my skill set," and literally transcribed the hardest song that you could do.
That's awesome.
And it's like, you're hired.
Yeah. Get in here. I love hearing those stories. Like Jeff Hanneman from Slayer, right? They started Slayer and he wanted a guitar. So he got a job to buy the guitar and then quit the job. And he never had a job again because he started Slayer, or he joined Slayer, and Slayer became Slayer, and he never worked another day in his life. He just played guitar until he fucking died.
Is he he died from a fucking spider bite, right?
Yeah, he passed away when I was actually living with you guys in California. He wild dude, had a venomous snake and spider collection in his house and was handling one, and it bit him and it necrotized, and he wasn't particularly healthy either. So he had some pretty severe liver damage, and it was like a 2-year ordeal, and then he passed away
From touring with Slayer and Pantera.
Mm-hmm. For 30 years.
I think about that shit. Like, a lot of musicians die young. Like look what fucking happened to Dimebag.
Yeah.
But if Dimebag didn't die young, what would that have looked like? Probably cirrhosis of the liver, and which would be better because we would have got more Dimebag out of him. But it's almost like, and I see that with some of my buddies in special operations too. It's like, man, I sometimes think they were destined to die young because they were doing wild shit. Like, was Dimebag supposed to be an old man? Maybe not, you know?
Yeah, that's one of those. I mean, when your number's up, that's just, it's hard to look into it too much more than that. But
I saw Damage Plan on either that tour or the one before it.
I didn't. I missed it. I missed it for a stupid fucking party I shouldn't have gone to, because the next time they came around, they had to cancel and move the venue at the last minute. And Shadows Fall was their main support. And that was the first time I saw them, was at Studio 7 right down the road. Tiny little room, like this big.
Oh, really?
Amazing show. But anyway,
Never
saw a dime.
Watching Damage Plan was cool just because I grew up on Dimebag.
Yeah.
But Damage Plan never hit like Pantera hit for me.
No.
Nowhere even close.
It was just them just trying to keep it together and have fun.
Yeah.
You know? It's you can't force it. You can't capture lightning in a bottle. You just do it. And Pantera, they were kind of doomed as soon as they got big, because did you ever read Rex Brown's book?
No.
I've got a copy of it someplace. I'll get it to you. But it's so fucking good, man. But because they were a band for 10 years before they ever did any of their power metal shit, you know?
Yeah.
They were a band for a long time.
They had like I Am the Night and like a bunch of unknown albums. But
And
that was also with Terry Glaze for the first.
Yeah, they did a couple albums with him, and then Phil came on board, and then they got really big, and the wheels were falling off behind the scenes.
Well, Phil didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least like if you listen, I remember like back in the day when Pantera was having all their problems, Phil wanted to play like clubs with Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
That was his scene. That's what he liked.
Yep.
And when they started fucking playing stadiums, it just rubbed him the wrong way.
Yeah.
He felt like, I mean, if you look at the Great Southern Trendkill, that whole album's theme was about like not ever becoming mainstream.
Yeah. A total counter to how big they had gotten,
Yeah.
ironically, you know, which the rest of the band, I don't believe they liked that album very much. which it's my favorite album.
Oh, so, is it, dude? It's
fuck yeah, I love that album,
bro. The energy in that album. It's funny you say that because we were driving home from gymnastics. I'll fucking show you the video when we're done. And dude, my girls were fired up because they just got done training. And you know how sometimes it's 1 hour of training and you just don't feel like you got all the energy out. Like sometimes you leave the mats and you're exhausted, and then other times you're fucking charged up, dude. Mm-hmm. And so they were both in that charged up mood, and they're like, can we fucking, or they didn't say fucking, can we scream as loud as we can? Like we want to know if we can scream, and we're on Highway 2. I said, scream as loud as you can right now. And both of them are just like, it's like,
excellent,
fucking shattering my eardrums. And I said, listen, you want to fucking scream? Let's scream. And I put on Southern Trendkill.
Nice.
And cranked it to the max capacity of my 4Runner, which probably isn't very loud. But you know how that it opens up with just Phil fucking
it's on.
And dude, they had the most fun ever.
Oh, I bet.
Screaming to that album.
I love that.
And we pull into the neighborhood and we pull into the garage, and Jenny opens the garage door because it was like shaking the house. She's like, did you really drive home like this? I'm like, of course, dude.
Yeah.
The kids fucking love metal.
Well, dude, my we don't do a lot of screen time at the house. We do like put on live music or symphony stuff like that, and movies every once in a while. But my kids, they love Iron Maiden and Motorhead and Ozzy and all that kind of shit because they don't know like metal. It's like, no, it's fun. It's just good music. And
I've never got into Motorhead.
Oh no,
I couldn't even tell you one song that they sing. And I grew up a metalhead. Is that blasphemy?
Nah, I give you a pass. You're forgiven. You got a Sepultura tattoo on one arm and a Pantera tattoo on the other. You're good. You're good. But no, I'm get out of the shower the other day. I'm walking down the hallway and I hear my 3-year-old going, "One to the hills," just with his horns up, just singing. He's 3 years old and he's hitting the pitches perfectly. It's I think there's something in we're a little more tolerant or accepting of metal these days because it's so obviously not a niche thing. It's a big genre of music and there's so many different artists.
Well, when I was a kid, and how old are you now? 35 or something?
I'm 36. I'll be 37
okay,
in
so
December.
I'm maybe a little ahead of you and like a generation ahead of you. But everybody was convinced that it was devil worshiping music. Mm-hmm. And my parents didn't play that shit really anyway, so it didn't have a bearing on me. But a lot of people like, you don't play that devil music around me. And then White Zombie released Los Exorcisto, and it literally says Devil Music Volume 1. Just leaning into what everybody says about heavy metal. But dude, heavy metal, a lot of people used to, and you don't hear this as much anymore. A lot of people would be like, that's just a bunch of people screaming and banging on drums. There's no talent there. And it's like, actually, in my opinion, heavy metal bands are potentially the most talented genre. And it's not just because I like it. Like you take any heavy metal drummer and put him in any rock, any country band, any pop band, they could do it asleep, And so the musicianship, well, we already talked about like Necrophages. Try and cover a Necrophages song.
I have both their tab books. It's fucking harder than shit.
Yeah, dude. I mean, fuck. Come on. Whereas a lot of mainstream music that was like saturating the radio waves, like fucking Nickelback and Limp Bizkit stuff, it's like it's kind of catchy and people like it. But when you're talking about musicianship, they're not even in the same discussion.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's more of a vibe, which is okay. It is what it is. But it's funny. The top 40 on radio is locked in permanently. I can't remember exactly why, but the record companies basically that own legacy media, the top 40 songs that you're going to hear are the same songs that you heard 15 years ago, same songs you're going to hear 15 years from now. It's just not really going to develop.
Oh, really?
It's just locked in.
Because people have just taken a liking to certain things.
Mm-hmm. And it's just predictable. So I like Black Sabbath and Alice in Chains as much as anybody else, but there's more music to be heard. And that's why, podcasts and streaming and independent radio are good kind of, counter to that.
Yeah.
But you got to know better.
Well, bro, like I have a Apple iTunes subscription. Mm-hmm. It's the best thing that ever happened to me
Mhm.
because I will listen to an album, and I don't know if this is a setting or if this is just how it always works, but it plays through the album, and then as soon as the album is over, it starts playing similar songs inside of the genre of the album you just listened
Yeah,
to.
there you go.
So I was listening to Opeth because they're one of my favorite bands, and it came to the conclusion of the album, and then the next song was Steven Wilson.
Oh, there
And
you
I
go.
was like,
Yep.
it was Drive Home.
Mhm.
Like, dude, I get chills thinking about it. I think that's the best song
That's so good, man.
ever recorded.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Guthrie and Marco, and then Steven Wilson's input. And if you listen to them talk about Steven Wilson, you can tell that he's kind of a pain in the ass to work with. And that's why there wasn't a lot of longevity to it. But the two albums that the three of them did together, it was 2 or 3, but it was The Raven That Refused to Sing and The Hand That Cannot Erase. And that's all I listen to these days.
It's awesome.
And I found it by accident, which then led me to the Aristocrats. And it's like, it's interesting how you'll find music. I found these guys at 43 years old, and I think it's my favorite album ever recorded.
Yeah. And radio can't compete with that. That's one of the, for all the ups and downs of social media and internet and all that, streaming services, and, you know, putting the argument of like they should pay artists more aside, the accessibility. If once you get a little bit of momentum, just like you described, you're never going to run out of shit to listen to. Like there's, you ever heard of the app Radio Garden? I haven't used it in a long time, but it's basically like a worldwide terrestrial radio scanner. So you can go to, I don't know, fucking Turkey or the Philippines or somewhere in South America and just scan the world and find a radio station and tune in.
And see what they're listening to over there, huh?
Just find anything. If you have an open mind and a little bit of curiosity, you're never going to run out of fun shit to learn.
Yeah.
You know?
And I used to, I mean, when I was young, it was metal or fuck you.
Yeah.
And actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I liked a little bit of hip hop back then too. And that's just because before I became a metalhead, I used to hang out with my cousin, and that was like the NWA days,
Sure.
you know, and it's just, that stuff's always kind of nostalgic to me.
That's a little more accessible for metalheads too, because it's so like just over the top violent.
But now I'm to a point where like, I like it all. Other than country. And I don't hate country. I love Sturgill Simpson, but most country, it just doesn't hit for me. Whatever that thing is that happens, country doesn't do that to me.
Sure.
Have you heard about the phenomenon of almost all music being recorded in 440 hertz as opposed to 432 hertz?
No, not really. I understand what you're asking, but not really. No, it's I think it's pitch correction or pitch alignment, because classical instruments would be tuned to natural 440 hertz, so it's kind of a universal kind of get everything on the same tuning wavelength, tuning frequency. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well,
Hit me.
And this might be fucking. I don't know if this is legitimate or if it's conspiracy theory bullshit, but our physical bodies vibrate at 432.
Okay.
The human being, our body is tuned to 432 hertz. So when you listen to music that is tuned to 432 hertz, bro, it fucking hits. It hits. And this was literally like the 1940s or a long time ago. All the major production companies like kind of unanimously decided that we're going to record in 440 instead of 432. And people believe that actually makes you feel the music a little less. And
I know for sure that Dime talked about tuning his guitars down a little bit. I think because he liked the flattened sound, so it's kind of in between, a half step down. So it's just a little flat, a little darker than it would normally be. Might be the same kind of thing.
What are people talking about when they say they down tune to meet the vocalists where they need to be met?
Oh, so like Ozzy in his later years, he's not going to hit the same kind of key of E pitch, right? So they'll take it down a step because his pitch is going to cap out at about D or C sharp. So they'll tune the guitars down accordingly.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish I could find. This is not something I should be looking up on the air as we're speaking. Okay. Nope, found it. Good. So I'll probably get some copyright infringements, right? But this is a list of songs that were recorded at 432.
Okay.
Right? Now, it's Evanescence, right?
Oh, sure.
When you hear that song, you feel something, right? And I don't know what that something is. Here's another one recorded at 432. Whatever that thing you feel it with that one too.
Yeah.
Right?
If you brought it up to a typical pitch, it wouldn't hit the same way.
And then it's like Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, 432.
Oh, I didn't know that. That
Comfortably
makes a lot of sense.
Numb by Pink Floyd,
There we go.
432. Black from Pearl Jam, 432. And you go down the list and it's like, oh, The End by The Doors, 432. And then Jenny, I was sitting there on the couch and me and Jenny were going through this list and she goes, those are all the songs that give you goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why? Because it's meeting.
It could be. It could be
meeting the frequency of your body.
It could be that. It could be because that change probably happened around the time that they were making the conversion from analog to digital. So it might be easier to compress all that stuff at 440.
Uh-huh.
You know, but
a Hans Zimmer instrumental in 432. Because guess who his guitar player is?
it was Guthrie Govan.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite. Not my favorite music conspiracy theory is the was it the Warner Brothers studio fire happened a couple years ago?
I'm not familiar with that.
I think it was that one, but it was in the Hollywood area. But this studio warehouse just goes up in flames, and it's the warehouse that owns all the masters for basically everything. So if you don't personally own, like Prince, the artist Prince, he owned all of his masters because he said, if you don't own the masters own you.
Okay.
Right. So master copies, like what I mean is like literally the master copy, the first copy of Nirvana Nevermind or Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Full Moon Fever. Right. Like if they ever need a reference copy, there's the master copy. Right. Well, all of these just went up in smoke. And now you can't get the initial rendering of any of this music because it all exists only digitally. So pretty much all music from that point on
digital now.
Just exists only in the digital world.
And can you feel a difference, you think, then when you listen
I don't know
to that?
about that, but I mean it's stuff like if you listen to things on really high quality 2-inch tape, you hear the room in ways that you can't really describe. You can't really articulate. But then you play an MP3, a high quality MP3 of the same exact song. Like that's not the same. There's something different there. It's just filtered a little bit differently.
Yeah. Prince was actually another guy that had some 432 stuff.
There you go.
And it's like because I never got into him, but he had a cult-like following.
Mm-hmm.
And why would that be? And maybe it's because his music.
He was hitting it. Man.
Yeah, it hits.
Hitting it at the human level
the right way. And like that Shruti box, that thing's tuned to 432.
What's the Shruti box? Tell me.
It's that thing that looks like a wooden suitcase over there.
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever seen that thing?
No.
All right, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'm going to go grab it.
About to have my mind blown, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like half piano, half Ouija board.
And so the Shruti box is an instrument that originated in India, and it's almost like an accordion, and it just blows air through these different keys. And then people hum along with it, and you try and match the tune.
Shit.
and then you can move these keys around. And change the pitch and the tone. So, isn't that thing fucking neat,
That's
though?
fucking unbelievable, dude.
And dude, so my David Price, the guy that facilitated some of the things that I did down in Costa Rica, he had one of those, and he'd play and sing with it and hum with it. And dude, every time he did that, I would be like,
I feel like I just took a pipe hit right now.
that's what I'm saying. I'd be
I
overwhelmed.
haven't smoked weed in a long time.
I'd be overwhelmed with this emotion and this
Yeah.
this buzz inside of me. And I told him at the end of the trip, I said, your Shruti box, I called it his magical suitcase because it has this little handle here. And he carried it around. It looked like a suitcase. I said, your fucking magical suitcase did more for me than the plant medicine, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things about ayahuasca that I appreciated, but it wasn't a life-changing experience for me. That fucking thing was. And I said, where the fuck did you get that? And he showed me it, and I ordered it and had it in the mail, like, before I left Costa Rica. But
I'm getting one of those things that's
dude, yeah, you sit down, and I don't know if you could hear me. Did you hear me hum to it and match the pitch? And then it, like, reverberates in the room.
It's like a singing bowl. I know you got one on the counter behind you, but I've got a little one at home too. Those things are fun. Those things are really fun when you get the frequency going, and then like pictures on the wall start buzzing.
You know,
just this little bronze bowl. I love that shit.
That's actually a perfect segue because I'm reading a book right now called The Humming Effect.
Okay.
And it talks about how, I mean, literally every single thing on planet Earth is frequency and vibration, down to an atomic level. Like, the atoms in our body are vibrating at a certain frequency. A rock, like every single item, is emanating a frequency. And if you learn how to harness different frequencies, you can actually defeat different ailments and different illnesses and different viruses. And people are going to hear this and probably think I'm fucking nuts. And I'm not necessarily saying this as fact, but what I am saying is there's something to it. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book now. I'm almost done with it. And it talks about how different, it would be tones, will make your body reverberate at different places in your body, right? So if you hum and you go like, I hear it in like my frontal lobe. It like vibrates the top of my skull, right? Or if you go,
Feel it in your chest and your
you
guts.
hear it in your chest and your guts, right?
Yeah.
So these people have developed these healing protocols where you hum, and then you are intentional about where you send it to your body. And he said, at first you can learn to basically hum up and down your spine, right? Which is your different chakras. And I've read about the chakras. I'm familiar with them. I've always wondered, is there 7 different energy sources in our body, like people say, or is this some hippie bullshit, right? Well, bro, when you start humming up and down your spine, you can feel it moving through your body.
That's awesome.
And then he's like, once you get really proficient at this, you can literally hum and send a vibration into your elbow. Say your elbow got tweaked and it's inflamed and you want to direct healing energy to it, hum into your elbow. And there's a lot of data and science behind this now. All the woo-woo, hippie, tree-hugging shit, we used to be like, that's so fucking stupid.
Up until 100 years ago, it was valid.
That's right.
You know
and
what
then
I mean?
we went through this.
All this shit.
Well, bro, like the Catholic church bells are tuned to healing frequencies, right? Like, healing with sound is something that got erased from Western culture. And then not only did it get erased, but we started thinking it was silly and stupid. Or like, dude, staring at the sun in the morning, sun gazing. There's a lot of things that human beings have done for a long time. And now you talk about it. And because it's not understood by Western medicine, it's suddenly woo-woo. And healing yourself with sound and frequency is one of those things.
Whether it was one of those things that people intentionally did for a long time, or if they set the tone for it, hundreds of years ago, and they just continue to do it, maybe not thinking about it so much, but this is a method that we use to sing and chant and dance and then heal ourselves. So it's in there.
you look at any of like the Buddhist monks or a lot of the like yogis in India and stuff. What are they all doing?
Yeah.
And like
Throat singing and all that
throat
kind
singing
of stuff.
in
Yeah.
Mongolia and shit. It's a big part of humanity. That's not by accident,
No.
you know? And so it's like, dude, if you have a headache or if you feel, I'll challenge people to do this. If you feel like shit and for whatever reason, maybe you're depressed, you're sad, hum for 10 minutes and tell me if you feel sad afterwards. Because, dude, I come in my office. I also have a Shruti that's tuned to 432, so that could be part of it. But, dude, I'll come in here and I'll put 10 minutes on my phone and just set it so I'm not thinking about the time. I'm not watching the time. And I'll just feel the vibrations and hum to it and try and match the pitch. And as soon as it's done, you fucking feel better.
Yep.
Period. You feel better. And that's what I talked to David Price about down in Costa Rica. I said, I don't know what's going on with your magical suitcase, but when you play it, I feel better. That's what I do know, and I'm fucking buying one. And so,
Roger that.
And dude, it's
I'd seen that thing a couple times and I never asked. I was like, what's going on here? I'm not exactly sure what all these little keys are. That blew my mind.
And there's a lot of people. Here's another like this device. It's called the Sound Sword, right? It's a tuning fork, but that thing is 2 feet long, right? And I mean, it's fucking $1,200. So
Okay.
I'm probably
That'll
not
go with your real sword. That
yeah,
you have
I'm
wall
probably
behind it.
not going to buy a sound sword. It's from a company called Earth Tuned, and just like everything, you can get your sound sword and you can get it whatever.
Oh, you can get it tuned to different locations in
to
your body.
whatever chakra that you want.
Interesting.
Isn't that fucking nuts, man? And so I think humanity is reaching a new point where we're moving away. I shouldn't say we're moving away from Western medicine. I never want to talk shit on Western medicine because sometimes you need penicillin.
Yeah, if you need surgery or you got a bad infection,
That's what I'm
it
saying.
serves a
Like,
purpose.
dude, I fucking had a hernia last year, and you want to know what's funny? I tried some fucking humming and some fucking red light, and there was this like, I had to go to the ends of the internet to find it, but it's like natural ways to cure your hernia and heal naturally. And I did some of the stuff and it didn't heal naturally. And I went and had surgery and had it fucking closed up, and I've been good ever since.
Yeah, there you go.
So, dude, obviously Western medicine has a place, but I think instead of using Western medicine when it's needed, people are starting to lean on Western medicine for everything instead of using nature, frequency, vibration, light, and love to try and heal your body or just keep yourself free of ailments, right? Western medicine doesn't want to keep you free of ailments. They want to put a Band-Aid over the ailment.
Yeah. Well, and that whole form of medicine developed as society just continued to busy itself up. We found so many other things to do that didn't have anything to do with raising your family on the farm or building your tribe and keeping it. Think about how fast we accelerated from literally just tribes to cities to industry to where we are today.
Like literally, boy, I mean, what? 150 years.
Yeah, I mean,
You go to 1850 to the year 2000.
oh fuck, you can go to 1950.
Yeah.
Those people had more in common with people 1,000 years ago than they do with us today.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, dude, you can't just totally and utterly change the human experience and not expect it to have some kind of repercussions. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing those repercussions. We're seeing those repercussions in like the obesity rates, the autism rates, all these autoimmune diseases. And everybody has theories on it, and some of those theories are probably right. But again, well, like, have you read the book Earthing?
No.
Talks about grounding.
Okay.
And man, they're finding that grounding is the cure to almost all autoimmune diseases because our bodies are not in tune with the Earth's frequency anymore. We've isolated our bodies as individual beings through living in houses and skyscrapers and wearing shoes with 2-inch thick rubber soles. And now we're living almost autonomous to the Earth when we're supposed to be connected to the Earth.
You know, and raising kids is such a good way to kind of get in touch with everything that you're saying, because all this summer, and then all last summer, my kids no shoes, fucking no clothes half the time. But they're just outside, just running around.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit, you know?
And dude, when does your body typically feel the best? Like when you're at the ocean and you're laying in the beach in the sand and your feet are in the water, because water exponentially increases the grounding, obviously, because it's electricity, right? Or sitting in the Pilchuck River, like all these things that we always knew just naturally felt good. Now they're actually understanding why it makes you feel good. And to just completely write all this stuff off, like why would all of these ancient cultures have these same routines and these same methodologies if there wasn't something to them?
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because our current culture doesn't really have the same protocols as far as staying grounded and staying healthy. It's a lot of just go, just one thing to the next, to, you know, eat this thing, to go do your job so you can go do this thing. And then if you get sick, take this pill to deal with this thing. There's no long-standing protocol.
Yeah.
It's just one iteration of just one micro decision to the next. It's not a good way to live.
Dude, and then it's like all of these normal things that were part of being a human being, like being awake when the sun's up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have half our society is working night shift now.
Yeah.
And those people are showing to have a shorter lifespan. Well, why would that be? Well, it's your circadian rhythm, and it's like these vitamin D deficiency and all these little things that when you actually unpack it, it seems like it would make sense, but people just weren't aware of it. Because why would we be? And until you realize that it's having a negative effect. And it's the same thing with grounding. It's the same thing with frequency. It's the same thing with nutrition. Like, man, we went from eating real foods. You want to talk about that short period of time where we went from eating real foods to bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And what was that time frame? Like 30 years or something?
Within a lifetime for some people, yeah.
Yeah.
Living memory for a lot of people.
And now you get like that Yucca app that I showed you where you scan.
I hit everything with that thing, man.
You scan every fucking thing in the grocery store, and 75% of them are filled with dyes that are toxic, preservatives that are toxic. And it's like, fuck, man, we don't even, and half the stuff you think is healthy, and you scan it, and it's like, actually, it contains red number 4 in it that's shown to blah, blah, blah.
Or some preservative or something, yeah.
And it's like, fuck, because how hard would it be to eat 100% natural food in today's world? It's challenging.
It can be very challenging. And I mean, we did pretty good with our garden this year, and then we've kind of kicked our diet over to mostly protein, you know, so a lot of steak and eggs, and I've got chickens and all that kind of shit. We got a lot of plants, and the kids are into it. So the kids don't necessarily miss that, like, you know, we don't have mac and cheese or any of that kind of shit, you know. So it's fruits for lunch and just an easy diet.
Fuck, man, you're a better parent than me. Like, it's a balancing act that I try, and like, I don't want to be a fucking just tyrant, but at the same time, it's my job to teach you what's good for your body. Because a 9-year-old is always going to choose the wrong thing.
They're always going to choose the tasty thing.
Yep.
And it's not their fault, right? It just is what it is. But think about it like this. I mean, in athletic culture and in jiu-jitsu, obviously, we can look back on a month of training and be like, I was kind of hurt all the time. I didn't do so good. What happened? Well, you weren't sleeping well. You were drinking a lot. You're eating like shit. You're distracted, blah, 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 blah. And you can course correct pretty quickly. Well, we're having the same conversation with our culture over the course of 100 years.
Yeah.
Why are we tired and sick and overweight and stressed out? We've got all this data now. So the onus is on us to drive it in a different direction and make those adjustments. And because of things like the Yucca app, or just as annoying and time consuming as TikTok and Instagram can be, there's a lot of people farming and homesteading and gardening and doing some pretty productive stuff.
Well, bro, it's like anything, man. That those apps can consume you with negative bullshit that leave you walking away irritated at the world. Or, like you said, you can learn homesteading tips. Mm-hmm. It's like whatever you feed yourself is what you're going to feel afterwards.
Yeah. Your algorithm, I mean, it's I don't know where I heard this, but like your trash doesn't lie. Like your garbage is an imprint on the rest of the world of what you value and what you don't value.
Yeah.
You know, what you've processed and thrown away. Your algorithm is kind of that way too. You know, I mean, I'm kind of hesitant or skeptical about the direction that we are going with technology. I think that I think we've oversized how important it is to us, and we're going to kind of adjust our ways out of that. But
well, you're already kind of seeing it with some of the kids.
mm-hmm.
Like my oldest and Zach, like they don't like their phones.
Yeah.
They don't like to look at their phones. They're not glued to them. And it's like, oh, like we always thought that, oh, that your kids are going to be glued to this and they're going to be glued to that. You know who's glued to shit is us, because this is new and interesting and it's captivating and it's like, oh, I can learn this and I can do that. But if you grew up with it, it's kind of like growing up with books. They're like I bet there was one generation that's like, those books are going to be the downfall. All you do is lay around and stare at paper, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like anything, if you can manage it. But I think the kids that have had this level of technology forever, it's not as enticing. Now, that doesn't mean there's not kids that just spend fucking 12 hours a day on their iPad. But there was kids playing fucking Call of Duty for 12 hours a day when I was a kid.
Yeah. It doesn't satisfy the same things that it does for us. I mean, it's just like latent or idle curiosity, because I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I just sit there and look at my phone and then 5 minutes go by and fuck, holy shit, why'd I do that? But that's anybody, right?
Or 35.
You're 35. But yeah, kids are just like, why would I sit there and stare at my palm?
Yeah.
You know, they don't think like that. My daughter, in 5 minutes, she can be all over the place. She can read a book, draw a picture, go chase her cat around, go run around outside. There's all these things that she can do.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We're weird fucking times, man.
Interesting times.
And then there's another part of me, and this is the doomsday prepper part of me, that's like everything at our fingertips, everything convenient, everything technologically based, that's going away. Like I don't know why. I feel like in our lifetime, we're going to see some type of dramatic shift. Yeah. And I actually take a little bit of like joy in that. It's like, oh, well, I know you're worried about screen time, but screen time's coming to an end anyways. Yeah. So too fucking bad.
I read a really interesting article the other day. I'll send it to you, but I can't remember his name. He was a professor at MIT. Wrote some fucking book that I can't remember. Smart guy in the world of AI. Right. And his thesis, basically his projection for the next 20 years or so, is AI is going to make a difference for people, but not nearly to the degree that we think it is. Basically, people are going to dump billions of dollars into developing this infrastructure. It's not going to have the same kind of returns that they thought they would. They're in the middle of laying off so many people right now. Well, there's going to be this huge hiring drive in 15, 20 years, because we need all those people back to do all this work that we didn't have a spot for. We didn't fill that gap. Right? So yeah, we might have, that wave might have crested. We might have gotten past the point of it. It might have saturated our lives to the point that I think it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to articulate that.
No, I mean, I hope you're right. And then the other side is like, I had a guest on, not last week, but the week before. His name was Tyler Williams. Mm-hmm. And the kind of the theme of that podcast was bring back the trades. Yeah. Because he's a carpenter by trade, right?
Good deal.
And he was a carpenter for 20 years. And now he got hired by some like company that generates $12 billion a year, like some fucking powerhouse in the innovation industry as it relates to the trades.
Okay.
And he's like a corporate leader for this company now. He travels all over the country, and it's like, hey, this is the newest, greatest thing in this industry. Because what you find is the guys developing things and the guys that are actually on the job sites using them are two different people.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're going to develop equipment and whatnot, you want some guys that have actually got their hands dirty to show up and look at it and test it and give their feedback in the research and development. Well, they sent him down to Texas last week to a company that's building humanoid robots. Don't show that to the screen because that's a secret picture. And this company is looking at making a workforce of robots for the dying trades, because plumbers, electricians, all those people, less and less people are wanting to fill those spots, but the population's still growing and we're building fucking houses and buildings. So it all needs to happen. And you just got your journeyman's, right?
Yeah, last year.
Last
One
year.
year ago, the other day, yeah.
So you're like a perfect person to talk about this with, because it's interesting. Because like you said on that one book that you read, you think AI is crested, and I kind of hope you're right, because there's gonna be an ebb and flow, right? And one thing we talked about with Tyler is that the opportunity for young people to actually not only move into a profession where they can make a lot of money, like you're finding as an electrician, right? It's very lucrative. But not only can you work for someone to make a lot of money, but if you ever wanted to, you could open up your own electrician company and have a work crew, and like it builds paths to entrepreneurial freedom as well.
Yes. Yeah.
College didn't do that like people thought it was going to.
No, it didn't do that for a lot of people. Well, it did briefly. It did that for
like the
a
tech
select
boom.
few people. Yeah, and now they're asked out. You know, people might imagine being a person our age, right? And everything that you've done up to this point, it applies to nothing any longer.
That's crazy.
You don't have a job. You
Yeah.
have no career prospects, right? You've got a house, you got kids, you got a car. Imagine starting over at this point in your life.
And technology just overtook everything that you're capable of.
Well, and again, I was talking about this with Folk and the guys the other day. When I went to high school, they just said computer apps, computer science, that's the future, do that. And they didn't have, there was a shop class, but they didn't have, like snow aisle, regional kind of thing for offloading kids into trades. And, I got into construction, then later got into electrical work. And my only regret is I didn't get into the electrical trade much earlier. So I always kind of wanted to.
Because you moved into that at what, 30?
28, 29, yeah.
Okay.
So I worked miscellaneous jobs. I worked for UPS for a little while, tried to go the corporate route, hated that. Fucking hung drywall instead of doing that for a few years.
Well, if you continue doing that, you'd probably be the toughest dude in the gym.
I know, right?
Those dudes are beasts.
No, you get your core strength up pretty quickly.
But I mean, I joke when I say that. I mean, I shouldn't say I joke. That's true. The guys that work the gnarly trades, Tyler Stanway is a perfect example.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He swings a forging hammer. When he grabs you, it's like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want to have my livelihood relying on my physical strength.
No. Absolutely.
You know what I'm
not.
saying?
Yeah.
Because that's going to wane. Whereas an electrician, you can do that as long as you want. I'm not saying that it's not
hard. It's
that's
hard
what I'm
work
saying.
for sure.
I'm
but
not saying it's not demanding or hard work, but at the same time, it's not like fucking concrete workers and shit.
Yeah, drywall and concrete and tile setting, all that kind of stuff. That's a young man's game. Which, to the point of the conversation, if you're a young person getting out of high school, be like, I don't know what I want to do. Well, go get into construction and spend 5 years, go through an apprenticeship, get your card. If you hate it, whatever, you hate it. You've got that skill for the rest of your life. You got some money put away. You're young, you're fit, you're strong, you're healthy. I mean, starting over at 23, 24, not a fucking big deal.
Well, most people are still floundering at 23, 24.
That's the thing, man. I had this conversation with the training director at our apprenticeship. Like, they were asking us at the end of school questions about the direction that they were going to take education. I was like, you have these guys come in, they tour the facility, and they're all my age or they're all your age. Where are the kids? Where are the high schoolers? And he said straight up, he's like, we don't have a return on hiring like that. They just don't seem that interested. I'm like, motherfucker, get them interested. What are you doing?
Dude,
You've got a 20-year head start on this entire generation. Get these kids in here.
I got to introduce you to Tyler, because that's his mission. Make the trades cool again. And I don't know. Oh, where's that? I had that hat right there. See that blue hat? Grab that. It's a company that is, their mission is to bring the trades back and then also make it cool again.
Yeah.
And so they have like a line of clothing called, it's purpose built, but it's like clean money, dirty hands.
Yeah.
It's like trying to inspire people like, hey, you can go be a carpenter, and that's cool and that's respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was graduating, and this was 99, so it was already starting to happen, where it's like, where are you going to college? I hate school. I don't want to go to college. Well, what are you going to do then? Fuck it, I'll go in the military, right?
Yeah.
It was like college or military.
And with that frame, there's not that many options. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like and if your legacy, like, and your dad wasn't military, or he was.
He was, yeah, he got drafted.
So if you have a legacy kind of thing, then it's a little easier to make that position there, that change to, I'm going to go military or fire department or law enforcement or whatever, because my old man did it. Or if your old man did carpentry like he did, like mine did. It's like, well, you can off ramp you into doing that, but a lot of people don't have that. And it's just like, why would I make a life decision based on what exactly? A specialized degree that not everybody needs?
Yeah.
It seemed so self-evident to me at the time. I don't know why everybody else is having this wake-up call present day, but here we are.
Well, here's the thing though. This is kind of what I don't know if I foresee it coming, but if this happens, it will make sense.
Mm-hmm.
If our country just doesn't fucking plummet into turmoil, which that option's not off the table, because fuck, dude, we sent $157 million to rebuild Lebanon 2 days ago while our citizens are starving in North Carolina. It's like, dude, I don't know if the current model of how the United States collects taxes and spends them is sustainable. Actually, I don't think that it's sustainable.
It is not.
Like if you can do basic math like I can do, unlike you that can probably do like fucking calculus and all that shit. At Jiu Jitsu, Scott has the best triangles in the gym, and he was teaching a triangle last week, and you said you want the smallest hypotenuse in your triangle. And I was like, one person in the gym's going to understand that, and it's Toby.
Yep. The other electrician.
Yeah.
Yeah, the right angle is where the ankle and the knee cross.
But I think at the end of the day, money talks, right? And if word gets out there that you can graduate high school, make 6 figures as a apprentice plumber, that's going to start to appeal to more people. And I talked about that with Tyler as well, because like Zach is doing his apprenticeship, and he can already get like side jobs paying
hell yeah,
damn near $100 an hour.
I've been sitting this week. I'm waiting for them to get caught up on work, so I'm got some time off. But I've already had like 3 or 4 people be like, "Hey, I need some work done at my coffee stand, or your buddy at his house, or my neighbor."
Yeah,
it's like I'm not busy.
So you're a person of fucking value.
Yes,
I would even say people that want to go into law enforcement, like when you're 21 years old and you're like, "Dude, I want to be a fucking cop," right? And you're motivated and you want to go get bad guys and you want to go do the mission. And they should be motivated for that if they want to be a police officer, right? It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to get your journeyman electrician from 18 to 23 and then go into law enforcement. Because I promise you, if you were like 99% of other cops I know, that's a pretty short career before you hit burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the cops that I know that reach burnout, the reoccurring theme that I hear from all of them, they're like, "Fuck, bro, I don't know how to do anything else."
Yep. Which is scary because a lot of cops get into it at a very early age as well.
Yeah, and then you feel stuck, And I've even had a lot of guys say to me, "Well, you're lucky that you had jiu-jitsu to fall back on." And I didn't know that I would ever fall back on jiu-jitsu, and it just kind of happened, and it worked out. So I feel pretty lucky and blessed. That wasn't like when I started training. It wasn't like, well, when I'm done in law enforcement, this will be able to support my family. I just did it because I loved it and it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned into something that's actually very lucrative now. But it would behoove anybody in a profession that has a high burnout rate to even do something on the side to build a skill set, so you do have a fallback skill.
Yeah. It's kind of funny you say that too, because after, decades of government service, that you would even think about having a fallback plan. Like you should be set permanently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, and this is a feature of not just our government, but also the money that we're throwing away for nothing, going back to, our foreign aid versus what we're getting back domestically. And I think that this would inspire a lot of younger people if they get involved in the trades and then they look at their paycheck. You know what I mean? An 18-year-old is to see like, how much money am I giving away for what exactly?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to really going to change the tide of the culture. Turn the tide of the culture is getting people involved and just, I want to make my money and keep my money. I don't want to give this away. I don't want to give my time away, because your time is the most valuable thing that you have. It's your health and your fitness as a person. And
it's your relationships.
And you're standing within your community, and then the time that you spend doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, bro, and that's actually something I've been thinking a lot about lately, watching all this frivolous spending that our government is conducting. And let me always preface it with this. I support people. Like, you're born in a different country and I'm born over here. It doesn't make me more important than you or you less important than me. None of that bullshit. I'm not a person that's like, fuck the rest of the world, America, right? However, it's just like you as an individual. you can't help other people until you're good first.
Yeah.
Right. And as a country, we need to kind of embrace that. We need to make sure that America is is operating in a financially viable manner, and we're thriving and we're doing good. Our citizens are taken care of. Our communities are good. Our infrastructure is good. And if all those things were happening, and then we say, hey, look, this country just had a massive earthquake, let's go help those people. I'm on board with that. But that's not what's happening.
No.
What's happening is backdoor deals that are lining certain people's pockets, and we're hemorrhaging money that we don't have. So it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to anybody when you just sit there and talk to them about it, but it continues to happen. But what I've been thinking about lately is like, take that $157 million that they sent to Lebanon and divide it by 40, because that's like maybe the average hourly income for an American, right? Mm-hmm. That's how many hours of people's lives they've stolen.
Yeah, think about it like that.
That's you missing your daughter's recital. That's you working overtime and not being able to do date night with your wife. That's you having to fucking skip jiu-jitsu because you had to work a double. Like, all the things that you love are being taken away so we can send money to all these other people when we're fucked right here. And if that doesn't upset people, like, I don't know what will.
Well, and it's worse than that, because we think foreign aid, and we think, uninitiated people think, well, water and food and shelter, and there is some of that, and there's paying health workers and all that. But a lot of the times it's just installing some, force to be there to go, or just bombs. I hate to say it, but fucking bombs.
Well, bro, we funded the bombs that blew up Lebanon.
Yeah.
And now we're going over there to rebuild. It's like, dude, what the fuck are we doing?
Have you read Jack Carr's new book, Targeted Beirut? So nope. I'm almost done with it, but it's a rundown of the Marine barracks bombing in 1983.
Okay.
And it opens with, there's an embassy bombing in April, a couple months prior, a suicide bomb, right?
Is it I thought Jack Carr stuff was all fiction.
No, this is historical.
Okay.
It's not fiction. It's an excellent book. But from 1982 basically to the present day, we've been involved kind of pointlessly. They had the Marines over there. What's our mission? What's our drill? They're disembarking their landing craft with no rounds in the chamber. They're going around dry everywhere. They're a peacekeeping element. They're a peacekeeping mission. Don't shoot back unless the rules of engagement are very extreme. They'll send, illumination rounds when they're taking sniper fire and artillery rounds and all that kind of shit. And the public opinion at the time was really negative. It's like, why are the Marines over there? What are we doing? Mm-hmm. And it devolves into October 23rd. A suicide truck rolls up, flattens the building, kills 241 Marines. Right? For what exactly? There was not, and there's a bifurcated policy between the White House and the State Department, or the State Department and the Defense Department, arguing over what the Marines' posture should be. Why are we here? What's our mission? Are we supposed to be aggressive? Are we supposed to be neutral? If we're neutral, why don't we just get the fuck out of there?
Yeah.
The point in all of this, and I haven't finished the book yet, but if you don't have if you don't have a clear path to victory and a clear stated victory, what that is supposed to be, why are you there?
Yeah, fucking.
And that's us all over the other side of the world right now.
Well, bro, and that was me in Iraq, and that was me in Afghanistan, because sure, we had objectives out of the gate. We're going to capture or kill Osama bin Laden, and everybody was behind that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, why did that turn into a 20-year occupation?
Because a lot of people got rich on it, honestly.
That's exactly right.
And I was never military. I never served, but I paid for it. I'm a taxpayer just like anybody else. It came out of my pocket. My fingerprints are on all that shit. So I have a right to say these things, And
bro, you have a right to say these things as an American citizen regardless, because your friends and family are fucking getting pulled into that shit too, right? And dude, I'm the first person to say, if there's a reason to go to the other side of the world and kill a bunch of bad people, let's fucking go. I'm not opposed to that. There are people that fucking wish to do us harm, and if we're able to gather the intel and put together target packages and shit, let's go. But that's not what we do.
No, it's very obviously not what we do. And it's really sad that so many generations have, just like I said, just been hamstrung domestically. And it's not just me. I'm doing pretty well. But think about it though. Some tech kid about my age loses everything. Now what's he going to go do? Applied at Starbucks, where they've automated half the fucking workforce out of the picture.
Yep.
This all leads back to basically our foreign policy. We're just throwing money, trying to extinguish fires with gasoline. It doesn't work. We don't have a winning picture.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And then like my oldest asked me the other day, because like we have a family thread and we send houses back and forth, because a year or two ago, the gym was doing good. And we were at the point where we're like, hey, maybe it's time to upgrade houses and get some more property and get a little more square footage. And as soon as that started to happen, it's like as soon as my business started doing well, inflation went up and interest rates went up. And it's to the point now where a new house probably isn't feasible right now, because we couldn't buy something much nicer than what we currently live in. And it's like, fuck, man, we're making 4 times as much money, but we don't really qualify for much of an upgrade, because the housing market, inflation, and interest rates now make it almost impossible to buy. Like, dude, even like the lowest quality, the smallest yard house in Snohomish County, man, you're looking at $600,000.
Well, not only that, you have to have consistent employment history, which a lot of people don't have. You have to have low debt, which very little people have. And then you have to have enough money and credit and standing with a bank that they'd recognize that you're a viable homeowner. I mean, we bought our house a year and a half ago, and she was working full time so we had 2 full-time incomes. Now that I journeyed out, we get by. We're not fucking killing it, but we knocked it out of the park buying our house just by the skin of our teeth. And then the rates went insane. Mm-hmm. But think about, we did well. How many other people can say that? Not really that many people. So you've got not a generation, but a large contingent of a generation that's kind of stuck waiting for something to happen. It's a bad place to be for your country.
And what I've landed on is that I think it's going to fall on me to build a future for my children.
100%.
And we're going to have to go back to multi-generational living. And I've told my kids this. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be feasible for you guys to go out and conquer the world in your early 20s. So if that means I have to buy 10 acres somewhere and we build 3 houses on it and we continue to live together as a family, I mean, a lot of cultures, that's normal.
How they do it.
That's
anyway,
how they do it. So it might end up being a blessing in disguise in one hand, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that the opportunities that were available not too long ago are probably not going to be available.
Just not applicable, straight up. And it's funny because, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of my house, Now it's like I see my folks all the time. They live right down the road from me, and we goof about, buying a compound, just like you said, acres out in the woods. And I think a lot of people, if they can do that, they might want to do that or should do that. And just changing that aesthetic of that's where the country came from.
Yes.
You didn't just go to college on the other side of the world, and your dad didn't just take a mortgage out for no reason, just for what exactly? It's like, no, you all stay together. You get to know the people in your communities. You have some kids. You move on if that's what you want to do. If you don't, and you got to be healthy. You got to be strong. You got to do something, right? And we've kind of lost the plot, but I think that's the thing that's going to save us. It's just like you said, just like you say, being the one to take the onus and take the leadership and build a future for your family. Make your aesthetic something that you're actively working on every day.
Yeah.
And
it's not, it could even be this building maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You got land out here. You got a house right over there.
It's not something that's lost on me. One thing that you said that was interesting when we were, me, you, Jenny, and Andrew were out in the grass grounding after a sauna session maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
You're like, man, one thing that I've noticed in the electrical trade is that, man, I hold a pretty good perspective, because it's like, hey, this job is interesting. It pays a lot of money. And I now have a house. My children have security. My wife is taken care of. And it's like, dude, I'm very grateful for the position that I found myself in, because a lot of people are in tough positions. And then you say you have a coworker on the same job site as you doing the same job that's like, man, fuck today. I fucking hate this. And it's like, Fuck, man.
And the disappointing part about that is like he's in literally the same exact situation, same age as me, married with 2 kids, owns a house. What's different?
Perspective, yeah.
Perspective, you know, and you gain perspective is not, you can get, I mean, it's just like anything else. You get people who are gifted with skills and they can just figure things out and they just know better. They're just born with some wisdom or something like that. But I've had shit jobs. I've had hard jobs. I've been broke. You know, I've been trying to make it on my own and not making it, and it's rough.
Yeah.
You know, so when you're in a point where you can make it, and I've got a beautiful wife and 2 amazing kids and a house and dog and all that shit, and it's like, this is awesome. So now it's just like, well, if I'm getting rained on all day, I'm fucking know I'm going home. If I'm stuck in traffic, it's like, well, I know how this day ends. You know,
Yeah.
this is okay. But you only gain that by just suffering. It's just like jiu-jitsu, man. I've been getting my ass kicked for a long time.
I was just going to say, it very well could be the fact that you have, what are you at now, 15 years of jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because, bro, jiu-jitsu forces you to have perspective. It forces you to.
Yeah, you can't deny it. You can't escape it.
Yeah.
Well, you can, but it's going to be known. It's going to be understood. You know,
by hiding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can hide and everyone's going to, you can hide in the open. Everyone will notice it, you know, but for the real development, the real lessons learned, you must suffer.
I don't feel like we have guys that hide here.
No, not here. No, fuck no. Absolutely not.
That's what I'm saying. Like
nothing that I'm saying applies to anybody in this building.
Just because,
just
like,
to be sure.
The culture that has kind of been set here is exactly a culture of embrace the grind and lean in. And, bro, it's literally the favorite aspect of my entire life. Out of everything that I've done, the fucking wars, being a cop, raising a family, like, and don't get me wrong, obviously that there's a lot of good and a lot of pride that I have in the family that I've created. But something that fills my heart with pride on a daily basis, and it's going to happen today at 5:00, mm-hmm. is watching all these people show up and jump into the deep end and get after it.
I say this all the time. I've told you this many times, but everything changed in the gym, even before your COVID rant that, you know, got you viral, not got you here. You worked really hard to get here.
But yeah, it got me fired and changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah. But when you made the decision to put the team, not just performance, not just skill, not just style, not any of that stuff, but you just decided, and I wanted to ask you if you feel like there's a moment when this happened, but just putting the team first, bringing everybody together and making everybody strong. I don't know what it was that changed, but because you were always tough and we always had good training partners and everything was always good. It's just like something just changed one day for fucking the better, for sure.
I don't think it was like all right, today the culture is going to change, mm-hmm. right? But it definitely was a process where I was starting to realize if I try and build a gym to appeal to you and Daniel and Joey Rangel and Mark and like the dudes that just love gnarly rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro, we're going to fucking show up and we're just going to beat the shit out of each other for 90 minutes. How many days was that practice? Like,
a lot.
Most of the days,
yeah.
You know? I can't tell you how many times in California I show up and the Brazilian coach would be like, all right, guys, today we fucking roll. That's what we do. We roll today. Let's go grab a partner. And we would roll.
Yeah.
And I got really good at jiu-jitsu and I got really tough. And so I'm not necessarily knocking that model, but Checkmat in California was a competition team.
Yeah.
They were trying
It's expected that you're going to compete.
That's what I'm saying. They when you are part of that team, you know practice is going to be gnarly. You're going to get your shit kicked in, and it's going to be really, really hard. And that's a necessity to build high-level competitors. And I always say the caveat, I never was a high-level competitor, but I was in the room with them, and I was trying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had some ups and downs, and it is what it is. And so when I moved up here, the culture that I knew was let's fuck each other up. And we did it for years. And we got some really tough guys. And it was a good foundation for the gym, I think, because to this day, there's a lot of tough fucking humans here.
There's no easy rounds.
However, I needed to make sure that when people show up, if they're a 40-year-old woman that's overweight, or they're a fucking executive at Boeing that has a beer belly and have never done anything athletic in their life, I needed those people to know we're here for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I came to that conclusion is because I started hearing over and over. It's like, dude, if you don't have a fucking 6-pack, don't go to that gym. Like, I literally heard that worked its way back to me one time. And it's like, oh fuck, man, I'm only appealing to the toughest guys in the community. And you know who needs jiu-jitsu? The most vulnerable people in the community.
Exactly.
That's who really needs it. Like a guy that is a super athlete, that is just a gritty son of a bitch, he'll probably get by pretty well without jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's just going to enhance who he already is. But now, since we've made a cultural shift, dude, we appeal to everybody. We have grandmas here.
Yep.
We have overweight people here. And we have children here. And now it's become a family endeavor. And you know how you do that, bro? Is you create a space that when people walk into it, they feel welcomed and they feel prioritized. Yes. And it's not that hard to do. Like there's two things that I think are absolutely key to building a successful jiu-jitsu academy, and it's culture and cleanliness.
Bingo.
When people walk in here, it should look and feel clean. Things should be dressed. The mats should be fucking spotless. The floor is always vacuumed, always mopped. I'm always taking care of all the little things, because a martial arts academy that's not clean is not only look bad, but it's dangerous too.
I can't remember where I heard this, but judge a gym by its bathroom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%, dude. And so I was like, okay. And I was always I always took a lot of pride in making sure the facility was clean, right? I've increased that to an OCD level in the last year, I would say. But not only is that necessary for a strong culture, that's also like my 90 minutes a day that's almost meditative.
Yeah. Well, and it's a personal aesthetic, not a personal aesthetic. It is, because it's yours and you're leading, but it's a cultural aesthetic too. So everyone's on the same page. It's almost like, you know, for non-churchgoers, you know, you have the religious vestments, you know, and the holy water and the dress and all that. But here you take your shoes off. When you walk onto the mat, you put your shoes on immediately. When you leave the mat, you clean up after yourself. Everyone's on the same page.
Yes.
So everyone's doing the same rites of passage, the same rituals to be here.
And when you set that culture, you don't even have to ask people or set an expectation. It just by default becomes what the gym is.
Well, and this is the best part about having those good aesthetics too, is that you don't have to preach it all the time. You get to outsource that to the rest of the academy, because everybody else gets to lead by example now. So
100%.
if you're doing it, everybody else is doing it. It's not going to go anywhere.
People are probably sick of hearing this, because I literally talked about this topic on the last 2 episodes. But you're right. When you lead from the front and you take a lot of ownership in the academy, then you don't have to ask people to help you. They want to help.
They're going to do it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, because I never wanted to be one of those gyms. It's like telling people to clean up. That's gross, dude. So cleanliness is key. And then culture is king. Culture is even a tier above that. When people walk into your academy, you have to greet them with a smile. You have to make sure they know not only are they welcome, but them being here brings me and the rest of the team value.
Yeah.
What does that value entail? Well, it's different for every single one of us. But you're an individual person, and we are excited that you want to share time and space within these walls with this team. And if you want to lean into us, we're going to lean back into you.
Yeah.
And then everybody pulls power and value from that. And that is what has set this academy apart from other places. I get people coming in here very often that are like, the second they walk through the door, if I'm teaching, Jenny's at the desk and she's happy and she's cute and she's nice and, hey, welcome to Electric Jiu-Jitsu. Do you have any questions? And like, you can't get 5 feet through the door without that happening to you.
Every time I've been here for like, I don't even know. Every time she's talking to somebody new.
Yep.
I'm giving somebody a huge hug by the time I even get to the first pillar by the bench.
Yep.
You know, I've said hi to like 5 people before I even put my shit down and get dressed. every time. So anybody that's signed up for this gym, you get an immediate return on your investment when you walk in. And this is not just to fucking blow up your spot or sell things for electric, because I want to anyway, but you don't even have to.
We don't even have to, because if we're being truthful, like we're almost at capacity.
Well, and anybody else that's listening to this too, that's trying to model their business or their gym, do this.
Yeah, do this. One of the biggest things that I get when people walk in the front door and I shake their hand and I start talking to them, they're like, man, I checked out 2 other academies this week, and I fucking sat in a chair for 20 minutes before someone even said hello to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, the second you make someone feel invisible, it hurts. It hurts their heart. It puts them in a negative vibration.
Especially if you're vulnerable enough to walk into a completely strange. Most people that, I mean, I got into martial arts pretty young, so jiu-jitsu is an easy transition for me. But for the uninitiated, like the beer belly kind of guy that just doesn't know what the fuck to expect.
Yeah, it already took a lot of courage.
You know,
I've had people tell me, I sat out in the parking lot for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Because, bro, we're gonna fight each other in here, and for people that, like, dude, I used to get butterflies as a brown belt before practice because I knew Boucher and Joao were going to push my shit in, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's someone that's been doing jiu-jitsu for 5 to 10 years. So when you're the brand new guy with no background in athletics, you know you're not a tough person. You know you're not a capable person. That's a huge fucking step.
Yeah.
And that person needs to be greeted with reinforcements right out of the fucking gates, dude.
It's different to express to new people like, hey, you have a place here, you're one of us, but to take it a step further, we need you. Like,
yes.
We can't do this without you.
Yep.
That's the big thing. And I've had that same experience. I've trained at a lot of gyms, man, and you know, I'm happy to call this my home. And I've kind of got 2 homes between here and Charlie's, fortunately. Yep. But I've been through the ups and downs of like gym culture and all that kind of stuff. And the cool thing here is that there's so many people that there's like different kind of subgroups, sub-cliques or whatever. There's younger, you know, goofball guys, and then there's people my age and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
but everybody's got a spot.
And you can literally, on any given night, you can say, hey, I'm gonna flow roll with this lady that's pretty new, or I'm gonna grab Daniel and try and fight someone to the death.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's everything in between. And each person has the autonomy to kind of pick and choose their path.
Yep.
You know, and it's important. Now, again, like you said, that like some gyms, people will hide. And if you give people too much autonomy, maybe they won't push themselves. But we take care of that in a friendly manner, when you just be like, hey, bro, why don't you grab him today? You know, and just kind of nonchalantly partner people up with the right people that will push them a little bit. And people feel it. People feel it very quickly.
And this culture's self-correcting too. And when you've established yourself really well,
I love it. I love it, dude.
You know, it's you can't keep showing up and just get by.
Yep.
It's inevitable. Because it's not just black belts and brown belts who get you. It's the fucking blue belts too, man.
Yeah.
You can't escape.
And some of the fucking white belts, dude.
Jesus,
we got some fucking monster white belts. Yeah. I actually had this happen on, it was Wednesday or Friday. One of our members that have been with us for 3 years,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to say his name. I told him this to his face, so it's not like I'm hiding anything, but he struggled to be able to find like his base.
Mm.
So people that don't have a background in athletics, like, your base is literally the key.
You're literally talking your base, your posture, just being able to stay upright on the mat.
Having good balance.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes you can grab people and you can just snap them down and they just fold like laundry and fall to the ground, and it's like, why does this guy fall over so easy? Or you go to sweep them and you almost don't even have to try and they just fall over, right? And that's very common for new people. But finding your base is what I think is what makes you a formidable human being, right? Dude, once you have your base, you walk different.
It's your ability to lift, squat, jump, explode.
Your posture's different. The energy that you project to the world is different. Mm-hmm. And it's because you have now become somebody that is formidable. And this guy struggled to find his base, and he struggled and he struggled. But guess what he did? He kept showing up. He kept training. And literally Friday night, him and Anthony had a fight to the fucking death. And you know Anthony's tougher and shit,
Yeah.
right? And Anthony goes hard, and I was watching, and dude, he was defending takedowns, defending sweeps.
Excellent.
And here's the thing. How do I defend a takedown, or how do I defend a sweep? Well, you have to kick a foot out to build a rudder so your base gets transferred, and now you find stability in different positions or different angles. And he was doing all of this subconsciously. And as soon as the round was over, I said, bro, come over here, dude. I have to talk to you about this right now. I said, 3 years of hard fucking work. You've arrived.
Yep.
Today, you leveled up. You're no longer the same person. You are now a fucking much, much higher level of yourself, version of yourself. And I fucking saw it. I said, and I don't need to tell you this because I know you felt it. He goes, I did feel it. You're right, dude. I did. And I was like, dude, and it almost like brought me to tears because it's like, dude, he's a 45-year-old man.
Yeah.
He's my age, and his path to becoming somebody that he is physically proud of, it was a long, arduous journey, and he fucking arrived, dude. And you know what I told him? I said, you know what, bro? What you fucking have established, money can't fucking buy.
Not only
no
that,
one can fucking take it from you.
Yes, exactly. You'll never lose that.
That's right.
You'll never
dude.
lose that sensation. It's there permanently.
It's there permanently. And for guys that don't think it's there permanently, I'll tell you this. I had another guy show up last week, and one thing that I always ask new teammates, do you have a background in martial arts? Just because I want to know what they know. And it's like, and this guy goes, no, I haven't done anything, man, in 25 years. You know, I wrestled all through high school, but
well,
at this point, it doesn't even count. I said, you're wrong. It does count.
That counts.
I said, because 3 weeks in, that fucking those neuro pathways that you made that still exist, they're going to start firing again, and your wrestling's in you.
Yeah.
It's always in you. And because I've seen it play out, I've seen that same scenario play out 50 times. The guys that show up with high school wrestling, and inside of a month, they're fucking hitting dudes with blast doubles.
That's the whole point of muscle memory. Your muscles have a mind of their own. It's not all just the brain doing things here.
Well, and that's a good, bro. That's actually a really good thing to bring up, because there are people, when you say muscle memory, everybody just wants to always shit on everything, right? Have you heard people say muscles don't have memory? It's a stupid thing.
Yeah, but that's bullshit. I mean, it's every bit as kind of half-assed as saying like, go with your gut means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, follow your heart means nothing. It's like, well, the neurotransmitters that exist in your brain exist in your heart and your stomach as well.
Yeah. So
it means something.
So I was actually talking to Tom Aper, MMA Tom, right?
Yeah.
And do you know he just had a brain tumor removed?
Folk was saying that, yeah.
Bro, it was the size of an apple.
Jesus. I didn't know that.
And he was at the gym 48 hours later.
Of course he was.
Of course he was,
Fucking
right?
Animal.
Bro, and he is. And I have a lot of training partners that are animals, and he is the animal of animal. He wrestled from the time he was little all through college. Then he fought professional MMA, and he's a brown belt in Jiu Jitsu, and he does not have a quit button inside of him.
And he's 7 feet tall and shredded.
Yeah. And so he shows up to the gym, and he's sharper. He's more articulate. He's fucking like, he seems more well put together. And I go, what the fuck, dude? I say, you're already a better version of yourself. And it's been 48 hours. And he goes, bro, I didn't realize it, but I was in a haze for the last 10 years because of this. And he goes, but one reason why he goes, the doctors, I was up in my hospital room like hours after the surgery, shadow boxing. And there's a video of it, dude. It's awesome. And the nurses came in like, what are you doing? Get back in your bed. Like, they were mad at him, right? And you know what he said to me? He goes, bro, I don't need my brain for my body to work. He goes, because I've been a fighter for so long that my muscles know how to engage, and they know the movement patterns, and they know where to be for my stability and my base. He's like, I don't really need a thought process. And then he shoves me out of the blue. Just fucking wham, shoves me. Mid-sentence telling me the story. And I put my right foot back and based and caught myself and didn't fall down. And he goes, you see what I just did to you there? He goes, I pushed you. And he goes, my hands hit your shoulders. He goes, the signal went into your spine and it shot down to your hips and it told your leg to find your base, completely autonomous from your brain.
It's not a decision that you made.
That's what he said. He goes, and that's been proven. Your brain didn't decide to do that. Your body decided to do that.
Fuck.
And he goes, and my body knows how to do pretty much all of the movement patterns. And I was like, damn, dude.
Sensei Tom.
You want to know what else he said to me? Which will blow your fucking mind. And it's another reason why he said, like, this supports his theory on this. He goes, well, when I fight, when I'm in the cage, he goes, I actually watch the fight as a third-party viewer.
I love it. That's awesome.
He goes, I get out of my head, and he goes, I'm literally watching the fight from like 10 feet above, looking down. And he goes, and that way it's not even really me fighting. It's just me observing myself fight this guy.
And
I was like, fuck, bro.
That's a really high level, like meditative kind of thing.
Yeah.
To be able to pull yourself back and observe yourself. Like instead of how am I feeling? Like, how is the Greg feeling today? You know?
Yeah.
What is he doing down there?
But
That's intense.
Bro.
Wish I had a tumor to be removed. Fuck. You get my head checked.
But fuck, dude, he's, I know a lot of savage men, and he is in the upper echelons of savage. And so anytime he fucking has input on things, I'm listening.
Yeah, roger that. Awesome, man.
I was actually thinking I should probably have him on sometime to tell.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be a good story.
He's a fascinating.
When did he develop that? How long did he know that he had that?
I'm not sure. I didn't really get in the weeds with him on it or not. Okay. But it's funny too, because Tom's fucking 30 years old, right? He's a grown ass.
I didn't know
man.
he was that young. Fuck.
Yeah. And because he just had a surgery, he can't drive, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know how long that period of time is, but it's 2 days after surgery, and his mom drops him off at the gym. And she points his finger at him, just like straight up, like aggressive mom energy. And she's like, Tom, you better not get on the mats. And I said, don't worry, we're not going to let him on the mats, dude.
20 minutes later, he's throwing everybody around.
Oh, I know, dude. The other thing that he did that I think just completes the whole picture is he only shaved the section of his head that he needed to have the actual surgery conducted.
So he's still got this giant William Wallace mop, except for like one area
yes,
that's been
dude.
shaved.
And he's
fuck yeah.
and he's just rocking it, dude. It's like, of course he's doing that, That fucking radical, dude.
Only in jiu-jitsu do you get these characters, man.
Well, that's the other thing, man. It's once you open up your culture to accept all walks of life, not only does it make the gym a more enjoyable place to spend your time and energy, but what you do is you open it up to having a very, very diverse group of people. And there's always a part of me that's like, I want to be surrounded by the toughest motherfuckers, right? And that's cool. And we got a crew of pipe hitters, but there's a ton of value that comes out of this place from people that aren't fighters, that aren't super athletes. Yeah. And they bring a totally different element of value to the team, and it's all working now.
Yeah. And part of what we were talking about, developing a culture and people getting out of the trades or getting into the trades out of high school or something like that, knowing that you have a cultural aesthetic that you can always aspire to.
Yeah.
Right. Because just like you said, jiu-jitsu's for the most vulnerable of us. If it's for anybody, it's for the people that need self-defense.
Yes, right? Dude.
It's gonna, like, Tyler Stanaway is gonna be a tough dude no matter what happens, right?
For sure.
But it's obviously, I'm using him as an example because he's a tough fucking dude. But just some scrawny kid that got picked on or whatever and needed a home, he's here now.
Yeah.
A vulnerable chick, she's here now. But this is the kind of stuff, even outside of jiu-jitsu, to put our culture, our national culture back on track. Have something that you aspire to that's not just greater than yourself, but it's mandatory that you're making improvements, not just for yourself, but for the people around you.
Yes.
Right. This is why I'm so fortunate that I got into martial arts young and got into construction now. And that I've had these interests. I've had music, I've had, history and all that shit. I can't stop. I don't want to. It's just by default. I've always just kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that's interesting, once you build that culture, other people see it and they're interested in it. Like, do you know Adam Livesay,
Yes.
big fucking beast wrestling at him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like very successful in like the corporate world. Like he runs a very successful business. He has like 50 employees or something. And he said this to me. He goes, if you could teach how to build culture in the capacity that you've built culture here, he goes, I'll fucking hire you and pay you to come and teach my workforce your culture. And he goes, and I could get 100 other business owners to do the same thing. And so, dude, I've been thinking about that a lot because it's like, there's a part of me that doesn't give myself the credit for the culture here because I feel like it took all different walks of life to kind of buy in on it and accept it and lean into it. So I don't know if it's a formula that you could package and then go deliver to somebody, you know? But I think in its absolute foundation, the key to a strong culture is when people show up, you make them feel like they're a valued human being. Because isn't that what we're all seeking?
Yes.
Like we're all seeking validation and we're all seeking to be around people that care about us and prioritize us. And the second that you give someone that validity, they lean back into you.
Yeah.
And if it's not smoke and mirrors and it's authentic, then these fucking people, they buy in and then it becomes a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. And the highest form of this is in the family, obviously. It's with your wife and your kids. So what we have here, you want the real, pure, uncut version of that is when you walk through the door of your house, right?
Yeah.
And being able to extrapolate that to your job site, your gym, your community. Again, just like you said, it's not, there's no smoke and mirrors. It's just show up, do the work, have an open mind, be a decent human being, be healthy. You know, if there's anything that's going to get this country back on track, it's that.
Yes, dude. Well, that's why I have Andy Frisella's quote on the wall.
I love it. Yeah.
Personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion, you know? And then the other thing, I mean, since this is now becoming an episode to aspiring gym owners, make some areas of your academy that are conducive to just people communicating with each other. Mm-hmm. Because there's some academies where it's not convenient or the layout isn't conducive to it. And it's like people come, they train, and then they leave. Bro, this is now, it's 90 minutes of training and then it's an hour of socialization.
Yeah.
The 2 giant picnic tables are key for that.
Yep.
Those picnic tables are filled with people every single night. The sauna is a key element for that. People are packed in there like sardines. And all you hear is laughter and stories and people carrying on. And it's like, oh, they're in there having a good time. And they're also suffering because I keep it at 2:30. So it's like, now it's not just jujitsu. Jujitsu's a big part of it. But now we get to know each other. We get to hang out with each other. We have the big benches. Like, people are comfortable sharing time here. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I either leave a key with people. There are a lot of people that have keys. So it gets to like 8:30. The class has been done for an hour. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, Anthony, are you good to lock up? Because fuck, bro, I should probably get going. Yeah, I got you. Or Nick is another one who has really leaned into helping me in the like post-training cleanup to the point where I've given him a key too because he wants to stay longer. And it's like, if people don't want to leave the gym, that lets you know you're doing something. You're doing something right.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and then also like, I don't know how much money I invested in my mobility equipment, but if I had to go inventory all that stuff, maybe $5,000, you know, you spend $5,000 on a bunch of stuff that is going to give people longevity and help them recover. And now it's the same thing. You'll see
better athletes.
You'll see 2 or 3 guys grab a foam roller or grab this, a rubber band. And it's like, now they're taking the time post-training to kind of lean into the recovery aspect as well. And all that shit is key, man.
They're going to come back healthier and stronger and more capable. Yeah. I love it, man. So what's next?
What's next for the gym or for life in general?
Both. Yes.
I'll tell you what's up with the gym offline, just because there's opposing forces that want to see me not do so well. Of course there are. Evil county forces. Nah, in all reality, the county has they've really changed their tune about opposing us, and they're working with me now, so I can't complain. But as far as like any plans of expansion or anything like that, like I'm not going to put that out to the universe until it's time to do.
Roger.
But other than that, with the gym, it's just continue to bring in people that need help and need jiu-jitsu and impart value on them. And what's crazy is we have 2 mat rooms and they're almost both filled.
Packed.
Both filled.
I haven't seen them not packed in fucking months, dude.
You know, and I already look at as like, how did I used to run a gym with 1 mat room? Because it's almost not feasible. And that's another thing I'll say then to aspiring gym owners. A lot of people are extremely apprehensive of just jumping into regular class. So what does that mean? That means you have to, if you want to succeed, you need to have some type of onboarding process where it's like an introduction to jiu-jitsu. But the downside to that is what I find is that the key hours of training are 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people are off work, they're off school, and they have a few hours in the evening that they can go pursue hobbies. And bro, you can only get so many classes in that block of time. And what I found is 2 mat rooms has really allowed us to expand our curriculum. And now we have our 101 where people can show up and be like, what is side control? And for an hour, they get to learn about what side control is. Mm-hmm. Whereas I can't do that in regular class because people are expecting a higher level of jiu-jitsu, right? So that's key. And then, bro, as far as what's next for me, I'm really thinking about leaning into the Forge Ferocity program.
Yeah.
It's growing.
Yeah, you were talking about that a little bit.
It's growing awesome, very slow, and I like that.
Well, this was a slow burn for a while, and then it took off.
I think that's the key to success. I think and the Forge Ferocity is a perfect example because initially I thought Forge Ferocity would be an online program where the members could learn about health, learn about fitness, learn about discipline, and like just really lean in on, like we have the website has a forum and like ask questions and engage and try and put together programs and different aspects of fitness and health. And that aspect of the program is almost dead because no one wants to spend more time staring at fucking words.
Interesting contradiction.
Words
right?
on a screen.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, dude, I already got Instagram, I already got Facebook, I already got Twitter. And now I have to go to the Forge forums to learn about whatever. And what I found is, because we were doing 1 Zoom meeting a week, team Zoom meeting, we do 3 now. And that's basically the foundation of the team is we all get together 3 times a week. And Thursday is an entrepreneurship-based training where, because some of the guys on the team are high-level entrepreneurs. So it's like, they have a lot of wisdom to impart on people that are just looking to start a business. And then some guys on the team are super athletes. And then some guys are just jumping on board this journey. And what it's kind of become is its own community of people similar to the gym, where sometimes this guy will lead and talk about what he found success in. And then everybody will listen, including myself. And then other times I'll step up, or other times Dave will step up, or Russ will step up and lead different discussions kind of based on needs of the team. And bro, sometimes guys are crying because they're fucking going through a hard time. And
it's real shit.
And what we've done is we've created a space for men primarily to be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
And I know that like everybody talks about vulnerability and it's almost fucking gay that it's like, that's what everybody wants to move towards. Except it's the truth. You know, like you can be a fucking savage and fit and disciplined and all the things, but man, sometimes life is kicking you in the fucking balls. And when you're feeling like that and you feel like nobody understands and you feel like I fucking hate my life and like all those periods of time that most men will go through from time to time, very few men have a circle of people where they can show up and be like, bro, I'm fucking depressed today.
Yeah. That stuff's got to come out.
It has to come
out. And
out.
it's part of our culture that we don't allow it to come out. And it's really unfortunate. But what you're doing, developing people like that, you're making them, strong and resilient, ferocious people, like you say. but it's antibiotics against bureaucracy and administration,
Yes,
and all the bullshit that has sidelined our culture. Because if you have these elements with your workforce on your job, even if you don't actively bring it to like a construction site, for example, but if this is stuff that you're doing on your own, you're bringing it regardless.
yeah,
Right.
yep.
So,
And bro, I think of like I know you just gave me Musashi, that book on Musashi that's 1,000 pages. And it's like
awesome, man.
I'm probably gonna struggle to get to that one. But I did read his book of 5 Rings, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's another topic that I've talked about on the show quite a bit, but it's important because the samurai's ideology is be the most savage warrior there is, but when it's not time for war, man, be a lover. Mm-hmm. Lean into poetry, lean into music, lean into growing, lean into your garden, and find the true dichotomy of being a man and find that balance. And that is where you can be the most ferocious person.
And that's something that you can't really achieve without just, it requires action.
Yeah.
It requires intentional action, and over a long time, over a lot of lessons learned. And I can just tell you from jiu-jitsu. I mean, I've been through all the spikes and valleys, and I've been doing it long enough now that, you're never going to run out of things to do. You're never going to run out of things to learn. You get to a point where you just kind of break through the mundane, and then you realize that it's all just kind of wonderful. It's kind of a fantastical way of saying it, but it's not just the rote routine of putting your gi on and getting on the mat and doing moves. You just get past this kind of atmospheric thing where it's just like, this is just fucking endless. It never stops. This is the big picture version of this is something like religion.
Yeah.
And again, like I say, I'm very fortunate that I've got it in multiple capacities in music and in my family. And for the culture, just have something much bigger than yourself that you must aspire to in a big way, in a great way.
Well, and I think that's why it's one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu is it's like moving like wildfire across America, is because all those things I just talked about that Musashi preaches, man, jiu-jitsu is almost all encompassing.
Yeah. It unlocks all of it.
There's
it's a
days,
master key.
There's days when, bro, I'm going to bite down on my mouthpiece. I'm going to go to fucking war. Right. Then there's other days when it's like, man, I want to learn the intricacies of this fucking inverted De La Riva sweep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like a more intellectual approach. And then there's other days when I'm rolling with Christy Campbell and we're giggling and laughing the whole time. Right. And then there's other days when I drive home, piss the fuck off because something fucked up happened. Right. And it's like, you get a wide range of emotional input on the mats, and it hones different parts of you. And it's, man, jiu-jitsu is poetry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it is an art.
And you take it all the lessons, the biggest lessons learned are the ones that you take off the mat. It's how you greet your coworkers, how your family greets you when you walk through the door, how you dress, how you keep your car cleaned, all the little mundane shit that we kind of take for granted. You put a magnifying glass on everything when you put your life through a ringer like that.
Yeah.
And
then the last thing that is a priority this year is getting the book done.
Oh yeah. Hell
Probably 75% finished with it.
Excellent.
And dude, I just burned through the first half, like fucking nose to the grindstone. And then something just, I don't even know how to, if I can really articulate it, but it's almost like the creative juices kind of came to a halt, and I shelved it for a little bit.
Mm.
And there's a part of me, it's like, hey, you're being a lazy bitch, get it done. And then you hear the guys like Alex Hormozy that's like, when I write, I sit down and I write 12 hours a day, no matter what. And it's like, I could force myself to sit and write, but what I noticed is the product that's coming out didn't feel as good. And so I took a little bit of a hiatus, and now I'm back on the grind, and I feel like it's right timing.
Good.
And bro, timing is everything.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes if you want to rush things, because the truth is I've wanted to write a book since Ramadi, which was 04.
Really?
I was like, dude, this experience is fucking wild. I should probably write a book. And I think if I wrote that book at 25 years old, it wouldn't.
You wouldn't have had the same filter of life to kind of put it all through. You wouldn't have been able to express it the same way.
And, I could have wrote one at 25 and I could have wrote another one now. So, I mean, maybe that's just an excuse. But just like the gym coming alive, I think the book, timing is everything. And I think at 44 years old, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on myself and the messages that I want to share and convey with the world. And I think it's good timing.
Good.
So hopefully that gets wrapped up. I want to be done with writing by January and then move into editing, production, all that kind of shit.
Good deal.
And do also the weird thing is, like, over the last couple of years, I've made friends, like Chad Robichaud is a homie now. Him and I text back and forth.
Awesome.
And he's a New York Times bestseller. And he literally told me, he goes, Greg, the day your book's done, you let me know, and I can help you move through the process of getting it into print and all the steps. And then Glover told me the same thing. He's like, he worked with, Prepared, it's right behind you.
Yeah.
He's like, I have connections with Jocko Publishing, and if you want them to work with you and get in contact with them. And here's the thing. These guys it's not like they're doing me any backdoor deal or any favor. They just have the connections.
They're setting you on the path.
They just have the connections. And bro, sometimes who you know is one of the most important things about getting a project done or achieving a goal.
And that's one of the most impressive things about the veteran community with social media and with things like jiu-jitsu now is that you can off-ramp all those skills into personal development, life development.
Yeah.
The things that took you, a lifetime or decades to learn, or just not rote memorization, but it's born into kids. Normal people are going to read your book and they're going to just zero latency, be able to learn those lessons and instruct their kids and build. And Glover's book for sure. It's like, I've got a copy of that. My mom and dad got a copy of that. I got another copy of that for another friend of mine. He's
coming to the gym for a book signing session.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be out of town, which is terrible.
Oh, damn.
Terrible.
Bad timing.
I'm so mad because him and Lappin reached out to me like, dude, we want to come up and hang out and do a day on the range and then do a book signing. I was like, well, let's do this date. And so they booked it, and I was like, fuck, dude, I'm going to be in Wisconsin whitetail hunting.
Bummer.
So that's my bad for not inputting everything into my cozy calendar like Jenny always tells me to. But the other thing is, like, I also held what I would call imposter syndrome for a long time because I was on teams where the team leader felt like a god amongst men. Like Delta Force operators leading my team. Another guy, his name was Rod Richardson. His call sign was K2. He was my team leader for a while. He ended up getting killed in Baghdad. But I used to look up to these men and be like, bro, those are the fucking men that need to be telling their tales and sharing their perspectives. They are natural born leaders. And I always looked at myself as like a tier below them. And I would say it wasn't until the last couple of years when I'm like, no, I am one of those men now. And I'm confident when I say that. And the reason that I'm confident in saying that is because I see how much value people pull out of this gym. And that's a direct reflection of my actions. And I should be allowed to take pride in that.
Yep. Your actions, your work, the lessons that you learned, and the discipline that you put in.
When we were doing our last Guns and Geese, one of the attendees named Dave, who's become a really good friend of mine, he told Lappin, he goes, man, you are a phenomenal instructor. And Lappin goes, I know.
Fuck yeah, he does.
And,
he's an amazing instructor.
And then he leaned in with a little more grace and like they had a conversation about it, but Dave said it was important. He really appreciated hearing that because, man, when you're really good at something, be proud of that. Mm-hmm. Don't try and downplay that or be self-deprecating or be like, oh, well, no, fuck no, man. I put 20 years of work into being who I am, and I'm fucking proud of it now. And you should be.
He knows he's a good coach, and you know you're a good coach because your students fucking excel.
Yeah. I mean, bro, I got guys that showed up here knowing nothing that I can't beat anymore. Yeah. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. Well, you've put a lot of people up to the black belt level. Not many people can say that.
And fuck, like Tyler, again, like this is the Tyler Stanaway shout out podcast, because he's gotten shouted out a couple times on it. But that was, he showed up with zero martial arts, but just a gritty, tough son of a bitch, dude. And now you take that person and you give them that skill set and good luck, dude.
Yeah, man.
Well, fuck. What's next for you, man? We're at 2:04. I like to wrap this up in about 2 hours. So
what's next for me? Well, keep working, keep building my family. I'm kind of, I have no intention of taking this into a political rabbit hole because I'm kind of done with all that shit, but I'm interested to see how the next couple months of this country goes because I worked pretty hard to get here. I've got plans. I got things that I want to do, not just for myself and my family, but for my people. And I'm really serious about driving the culture. I don't know exactly what that means or how that's going to take shape, but I'm tired of being on the sidelines and seeing this country kind of nosedive.
Yes.
I want to actively participate and get involved and correct it. And I think we can all agree to cut the bullshit.
Yep.
You know, however that's going to take shape. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm still working, staying healthy, staying prepared, staying in shape. And I think that really good times are in front of us. You know, I
love hearing that because I know most people, including myself, have often felt like dark times are ahead.
Well, and this is the way I describe it. I'm cynically optimistic about the future. I'm kind of a cynical person anyway. I call bullshit on a lot of things. That's my personality, but I refuse to be down by anything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow for it. I mean, everything that it took our country and our culture to get to this point, it's not going to go away just because we throw our hands up in the air. What do we do now? It's like,
or a few shitty people got into positions that really changed the trajectory of this culture in this country. Are we going to allow them to just continue to do that till it nosedives in? I hope that Americans can revisit their spirit of defiance.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say this, like, obviously everybody knows, like, if we have to fucking take up arms and take our country back, that's a route that I don't think is unreasonable or off the table. But you know what would be better? It's just, like you said, a cultural shift where we can lean into love, we can lean into capability, we can lean into building members of our community up as opposed to tearing them down.
And people just stepping up and having the personal recognition of this moment in time. If you're waiting for something to happen, make it happen. If you're waiting for someone to come along, well, that's you.
Yeah.
You know, there's no better example than you to lead the way, whoever you are listening to this, right? You've got everything available to you to drive the culture in a positive direction. And like I said, you know, as a taxpayer, I've got my fingerprints, whether I like it or not, on everything that this country does. And I'm dissatisfied with the way that people have kind of taken it astray. And again, I've got skin in the game, man. I got a wife and kids. I'm going to be in the trades for a long time. I'm going to be on the mats for a long time. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, my health and my fitness and my wellness and my standing in my community, those aren't personal values. Those are personal ethics. It's different. It's something that I have to work on and aspire to every single day.
Dude, I fucking love that, man. And I like that you said you don't want to take it down the political rabbit hole because that always happens, you know, and I get that. But the truth is the next, was it 32 days or whatever it is? I think it has the potential to dictate a decent amount of change for the future of this country.
One way or another, yeah.
But I'll also say this, man. There's also a part of me that feels like we are so divided right now, is that if Trump wins or Kamala wins, there is the potential for massive fucking blowback and some fucking hard times.
One way or another, yeah.
Either way, if it were to play out a certain way, you know? So, like, that's why in my brain, I'm kind of preparing for some hard times because there's a lot of uncertainty around this. But then it might also just fucking blow over and, like, all right, this person got elected and fucking we'll see what happens. But I just don't think the current trajectory is sustainable. Something has to change, and fucking hopefully it does, man.
And I'll stop with this. I'm less concerned, and I think unity and bringing people together is very important, but I think the most important thing is to stand strong and lead by example. Mm-hmm. And again, you know, I'm nobody from nowhere, man. I don't have the fucking military background that you or Glover or anybody does. I'm just a shithead kid that showed up at a jiu-jitsu gym one day and, you know, met Greg Anderson and got my ass beat for several rounds, and 15 years later, it's like role model.
Fuck, 15 years later, we're both black belts.
Well, that's the thing.
Strangling each other. Love it, dude.
And enough people like me are out there that have a voice, that have a reason to stand up and build the world around them and make it strong. And I'm not going quietly, man.
Good, man. Well, I'll close with this then, because one thing I hear people say often is what you just said. It's like, hey, I wasn't a ranger and I wasn't this and I wasn't that. And none of that shit matters, because you know what matters is what we're doing right now.
Yep.
And we're both capable of building good culture and leading this country in the right direction. And one thing that you said that I loved is like, hey, it starts in your home.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have good culture behind your fucking closed doors, good luck trying to bring that anywhere else in life, you know? So get your house in order, get your family in order, then get your fucking circle, your close circle in order, and then influence whoever that you can in a positive manner. And if everybody would get on board with that, winning would be the only option.
Yeah.
So
doesn't take much.
all right, fuck yeah, man. I'm glad we did this. Fun
man.
episode, and we're going to wrap it up.